Welcome back. We are here to take some notes. I know, very big surprise. So today we are going to be talking about complements. So this is going to actually cover two IXL standards. We're going to be talking about linking verbs with predicate adjectives and predicate nouns, which will be one of your standards. And then the other standard is going to be direct objects and indirect objects. So those are all called complements. Complements. So make sure that you get your ISN filled out, and then also make sure that your table of contents and your 2 pages. Complements is Complements. Okay, so it's not compliments, it's complements. So make sure you have that filled out correctly, and then come on back and we're going to learn some grammar. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Complements. You are going to need both pages today. Make sure you have today's date, whatever date you are taking these notes, and make sure your page numbers are filled out. Don't forget, every once in a while, I'll check your ISNs to see if they're filled out, and then you guys get house points. So you are going to need 5 foldables, and they're going to look like these. These are the sentence pattern ones. Okay, so there's 5 of them. Okay. Okay, so you have 2 choices. When you go to cut these, you may just cut them straight up, or you can cut them in the puzzle piece. It does not matter to me. Okay, guys, so on this page, okay, if you look, I went down as low as I possibly could. I want as much space here as possible. I am going to warn you, in the past, I have ran out of space here. So I've got definitions on Post-it notes. So you might want to have a Post-it note ready to go with those notes. Okay, so first we're going to do definitions, and then we're going to go over and we're going to use these skills, okay? So first thing we are going to look at is called a predicate adjective. Okay, so a predicate adjective Okay, so a predicate adjective is going to come after a linking verb. So that is going to be the big key here. Okay, predicate adjectives are coming after linking verbs, and it's going to describe the subject noun. It's not just any noun, it's going to describe the subject noun. Okay? Okay, so a predicate noun is going to come after that linking verb, and it's going to rename the subject noun. Okay, so it's going to be another noun saying what this subject noun is. A lot of these will make more sense when we actually get to them. Okay, so the next thing we have is a direct object. A direct object is going to be a noun that's receiving the action of the verb. And I am out of space for my last definition. Okay, so I'm going to bring my Post-it note in. And I'm going to stick my Post-it note right on here. I never have space for this. Okay, so my last definition. Okay, so the last definition that we have is indirect object, which is the person receiving the direct object. Okay, so I'm just going to stick this Post-it note right over here so I have its definition. Okay, so now let's work with these. Okay, so when we look at this, we are going to look at sentence patterns. So right here, our first sentence pattern is a simple sentence. It's got a subject and a verb. Okay, so this is my subject. This is my verb. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up. So it's going to be a sentence like, Mrs. Thompson walks. Okay? Subject, verb. Subject, predicate. Okay? So that's just our basic sentence. So I kind of wanted to go over what the basic sentence looks like before we add in everything else. Okay, so next sentence pattern. Okay? We have our subject. We have our linking verb. Okay, so it's really important to understand that when we are talking about our predicate, adjective, it has to have a linking verb. Okay? So remember over here where we had our definitions and it says the predicate adjective comes after a linking verb and describes the subject noun. So we are going to start again with our subject, which is still going to be Mrs. Thompson. Okay, we are then going to have our verb, which has got to be a linking verb. So in this case, I'm going to use the word is. Is a helping verb where when it stands alone, it is a linking verb. Helping verbs standing alone are linking verbs. So Mrs. Thompson is, and I need a word that's going to describe me. So Mrs. Thompson is happy. Right? Keep your dear teacher happy. So we have our linking verb, and then this word describes the subject noun. Okay, so this is working as an adjective. Okay, so but it's called a predicate adjective. Okay, so that's how a predicate adjective works. Okay, the next one, our third sentence pattern, we have our subject again. We have our linking verb. And then we have our predicate noun. Okay, so once again, a predicate noun. So if you notice, both of these start with predicate. So the predicate adjective and predicate noun, they are both coming after linking verbs. Okay, so I'm keeping the Mrs. Thompson. I'm keeping the is. Now, if you go over to the definition, it says that a predicate noun comes after a linking verb and it renames the subject noun. So I've got to have a noun over here. So Mrs. Thompson is, this one's nice and easy. Mrs. Thompson is a teacher. Okay, so teacher is a noun that is saying what I am. Okay, so this is a predicate noun coming after a linking verb, is, and it's renaming the subject noun. So that is a predicate noun. Okay, so that is going to be your first IXL standard of second quarter. Okay. 8th grade, here's my warning to you. For some odd reason, I don't know what I was thinking, but on your game board it says to do EE1. You need to do EE2. 7th grade, yours is correct. Yours says DD2. That's the one you should do. So you should do the one that says linking verbs, with predicate adjectives and predicate nouns. So that is the one you are supposed to be doing. Okay, so just make sure 8th grade that you do the correct IXL that goes with these notes. Okay, the second IXL standard is over your other 2 sentence patterns. Okay, now if you noticed in my definitions, I never said what kind of verb because these are action verbs. So we are still going to have our subject. And we almost always have a regular old verb, which are just the regular action verbs. Okay, and then this is your direct object. Okay, so our definition says this is the noun receiving the action of the verb. Okay, so we are going to keep our wonderful subject, Mrs. Thompson. I'm excellent to write about. So Mrs. Thompson. Now, this time I'm going to want an action verb. So I'm going to use mailed. Okay. This is going to be a noun. Okay, so a direct object is a noun that receives the action of the verb. So I'm going to say that I mailed a letter. Okay, so basically what you are going to ask to figure out where your direct object is you're going to say mailed what? The answer to that is your direct object, which is a letter. Mailed what? A letter. Okay, so that is your direct object. Okay. You may have a sentence with a direct object and no indirect object, which is what we're going to talk about next. Okay, so if you notice here, I can do subject, verb, direct object, and that is A-okay. Okay. Now, if you look at the definition of an indirect object, which is our 5th sentence pattern, an indirect object is the person receiving the direct object. Okay. But I want you to note, do I have to have a person receiving the direct object? The answer is no. Okay. So lo and behold, we're going to come down to sentence pattern number 5, where we have our subject, we have our verb, we have our indirect object, and then we have our direct object. So here's what I need you to understand. If there is an indirect object in the sentence, it's always coming before the direct object. It'll always, always, always be before the direct object. Okay? So once again, we are going to keep our sentence relatively the same. And then I'm going to teach you how to find these things. There's certain questions that you ask. Okay, so we have Mrs. Thompson. Okay, we still have mailed. Okay, now I'm adding in an indirect object. So, Miss Fisher. But then I'm keeping my direct object. Okay, so once again, I'm going to ask the same question again. Mailed what? Okay, this answer is right here. Okay, the answer to mailed what is my direct object. Okay, then the next question is mailed what? A letter? To whom? We're going to say to whom, okay, which then becomes Miss Fisher. So this is my indirect object, okay? So mailed what? A letter. To whom? Miss Fisher, okay? That whom is your indirect object. Got it? So that is how you find it. So your second IXL standard is over direct objects and indirect objects. So these notes cover 2 IXL standards, the first 2 for second quarter, okay? So when you are done taking these notes, you're going to go work on those 2 IXL standards. When you're done with those 2 IXL standards, you're going to take the quiz over them. Okay, so this covers 2 sections on your game board. Okay, I will see you in class.